Hola Masala, this is Ashwin and Luisa, an intercultural couple from India and Colombia. And in today's video, we are going to talk about a deep topic. It's about how Luisa and her whole life changed when she lived with her in-laws, my parents, in India for 2 years. And when we think about it, when we reflect on it 2 years later, it just all hits very differently. It feels like an incredible experience full of challenges, surprises, amazing moments, but also a lot of learnings, especially for her because she's from the Western Hemisphere and is not used to things in the East. So, how was it for you thinking about it, the whole experience after 2 years?
To give a little context, we got married in a rush, right? We had the idea to marry in 2027, 2028. That was our ideal. But we ended up marrying in 2023, during November, the end of the year. And at the same time, 15 days after we got married in Colombia, we went to live with your parents. It was a sudden decision, and of course, it brought a lot of changes in our lives. But I think because of the same speed of actions that we were doing, we couldn't actually reflect on how we wanted to live as a couple.
Yeah, my parents were trying to look for another place to live, and they were going to get a bigger place with or without us coming back, because the original plan was for me to stay in 6 months in Colombia, but I only got a short-term visa, and out of that 1 month went away. So I had like 2 months, and we just didn't want to stay away for long again. So we got married, and we had like a few days, a couple of weeks, and just like the week before we were supposed to arrive in India, my parents found a house with an extra room, a great house, like big place, a lot of space for 5 of us, like my parents, my brother, and the both of us together. So and at that point, we just didn't have any time to think about anything. So we were like, okay, good for us. We have a place to stay.
Yeah,
We land and we just go like 20 minutes from the airport, simple, easy. So we just went there. That's it. We never even really sat down and talked about the living situation or how we're going to handle that when we go together to live in India.
If we reflect right now on that, it's so crazy. Why would you do something so rushed in such a... No, I wouldn't do it now like that, because you have to prepare better. But in case you are in a relationship like ours, that's at certain point that happens. The uncertainty is always there, right? And if you can act fast and that's your only option, you will do it no matter what, because you love the other person and you want to be with each other, together, close by. So there's no way to actually plan life, right? And when we think of India as Westerners, we have many misconceptions, right? Many misconceptions and many stereotypes. One of them for me was that in-laws were horrible with the new wife of the family. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It may be true. For many people, it may have happened. And I wish it wasn't like that, honestly. I was lucky enough to have a very good family. Your family is amazing. Amazing, that's all I can say. But that doesn't mean it didn't come with challenges, because we are different humans and we have different dynamics in life, different expectations, different dreams. My lifestyle was very independent even before I met you. I used to live alone, with friends, right? I left my house as soon as I finished high school. So living again with 5 people, we were 5 people in the house, different ways of doing things, different way of brooming. Brooming, for example, it sounds so silly, but it's so different. Timings to eat, right? We are early people. We wake up early, we eat early, and we go to bed early.
And these are the small things, like you said, like sweeping, the food and the timings, and all of those are small things, and you never even think about those things to be a problem. And just like you said, the stereotype of Indian parents-in-law treating the daughter-in-law in a bad way, that's what the TV movies, the series, and all those things portray as well. So those are the things that you're actually worried about. But then you go and actually live in the country and you see all the small things, the day-to-day things, and those are actually the things that can actually pile up and become an even bigger issue. In this particular case, you weren't forced to cook every single day, clean every single day, but it was the opposite. My mom was cooking every single day, and sometimes it's good because it saves us a lot of time and effort, but sometimes you also want to cook, right? And
Exactly. That was a big thing. I was used to cooking every day. It's not just about living with in-laws, it's about marriage. You're so used to having an independence that suddenly you have to share everything. That was hard.
and yeah, you are also an only child.
I'm an only child. I don't share.
Exactly. You and your parents, like 3 people in the house. And even then, you just left the house to university in another city. So again, you were like one person, right? It can definitely hit hard, especially in our case where we never really talked about how things are going to be. And even if you talk about these things, the reality can be extremely different because theory is always different than practice. So that's one case. But then there are also other issues like being afraid of traffic, being afraid of the crowd, and then not having a bank account. So many things.
Those all piled up to how I felt bad. Honestly, the first year, I lived there for 2 years. The first year was extremely hard for me. Why? We had bureaucracy issues, so I couldn't open a bank account. For me, that was extremely humiliating. And I had my job and I was earning money, but I wasn't seeing my money, my bank account. And that's weird for me. Then being so afraid of going out alone, which was very funny too, because I was afraid, yes. And I thought I was the only one who was afraid. And I never talked. Why? Because I was nervous to create chaos in the family, to create chaos between you and your parents, or I was gaslighting myself. Very often, I was gaslighting myself, thinking everything is fine. You just have to remain silent. You just have to take a deep breath. This is a different culture. You are not from here. You don't understand things. Not even with just with your family, people outside, I'll be like, no, that's not disrespect. It's just how it is. Indians are different. You don't understand. There were people who were very disrespectful, and I didn't put limits because I was afraid of confrontation, which is crazy because you know that I am very confrontational.
Yeah, absolutely. You never stop yourself from expressing, right? And going from that point to the other end of the spectrum, I don't know, like now when I think about it, it's very surprising, like how I didn't notice it or how you were that way. And talking about my part in all of this, of course, I saw you sometimes not yourself, not being yourself, sad. And most of the times I was just thinking, okay, she's homesick. I was thinking it's the surface level things like it's too hot, the weather, the climate is crazy, or the food is too spicy and she's missing beans, she's missing chicken soup from Colombia.
I was
arepas.
missing chicken soup and arepas and beans.
Yeah.
Yes, but that doesn't make you cry that much, right?
Absolutely. And I think we were both at fault. I never really asked any deep questions, and you were afraid or nervous or anxious about expressing or sharing or talking about the hard things you were facing. So it was like it takes two to tango, right? It takes two people to put in the effort to have a conversation, especially for deep and hard topics like this. And what made you finally open up?
When my parents came, we were preparing our marriage in India, so my parents came to be part of it. And I had a deep emotional turmoil that I wasn't showing through words. I was just expressing them through illness. Like I was losing hair, I was not okay. I was definitely not okay. I was not hungry. I didn't want to eat. I didn't feel any desire to eat, despite the food being tasty. Even if you put in that moment a huge bandeja paisa for me, I wouldn't have eaten it. I was just like, no. Mm, my mind was gone. My heart was gone. I was just existing in that moment. And when my parents came, they noticed it immediately because they're like, oh, this is not you. What's going on? Tell us the truth because this is not you. That was hard. That was really hard because, of course, they know me well. So, of course, when I started saying, hey, I'm bothered because of this and this and this, but the rest is fine. And they were like, you want cheat, like, you want
Fool us.
fool us because you're fooling yourself, saying that you are okay, but you are not. You don't look okay. It was a deep conversation I had with them, but I didn't feel prepared to tell you how I felt. Maybe it was just because it was the first year of marriage, living together full time. I don't know. Many things can be the explanation, but I took a long time before telling you. And even then, even though I had the time to process all those things that were going inside of me, I couldn't put it into words. So what did I do?
You wrote a letter.
Yeah, I wrote him a letter that was very long. And I think it was very surprising for you because you hadn't heard anything that I was telling you there. You thought everything was good, right? But I was actually not good at all. How was it for you to see that letter?
I mean, yes, obviously it was a big surprise because even though you know that something is not right or maybe you're feeling homesick, I'm still just coming back to the surface level things, right? And I was still only thinking that it's those surface level things that are bothering you. And especially when your parents were there, you were spending more time and you were meeting after 1 year and you were traveling with them, having great experiences. The marriage happened, the Indian marriage happened at that time, so they were a part of it. Literally, they were a part of everything. They were helping us prepare, organizing things. So right after that, receiving a letter that was so deep and emotional, I was definitely like not expecting that. But I think after reading the letter, we both were, of course, hurt, but we were also open. Like, finally, we were open to have that hard conversation. Finally.
After a long time.
Yeah, even though the first few days nothing happened, we were just there for each other. We were comforting each other because obviously something so big happens and you need time to process, right? You were like keeping all those things for a year, and then I was reading it all of that in a single letter in an hour. So it was hard for me as well, and it definitely I needed some time to process, and you were gracious enough to give me that space. And then we were, space in the same room.
Yeah, not like bye.
Yeah,
No.
we were in the same room. We were
Like
like
this
next
space.
to each other, like comforting each other and everything. But the space to have that conversation a little later, not
Yeah.
immediately, right? And then I think from there it was just uphill from there. If you're scared or afraid of having hard conversations with your partner, then what kind of a relationship it is? I mean, is it because we choose to be together, we choose to get married to each other, we choose to live together, and it can only happen if you trust the other person 100%, trust them to have all these hard conversations, to go through these challenging moments together. And if you're not 100% confident to do that, it's okay if you're anxious, nervous, afraid, fearful, that's all totally fine. But at some point, you have to have the conversation. You cannot just go without having that. Thankfully, we did have that, and the result was amazing. And 1 year later, like at the end of our time in India, I think you were kind of enjoying, we were
I loved it.
traveling, and you were just craving for the same foods that once you didn't want to eat it. It wasn't about the food. It wasn't about the hard water with your hair. It wasn't about any of those things. It was just emotional. It was just how you were feeling going through those challenging moments. And literally it could happen anywhere in the world. It could be in
Exactly.
Colombia, it could be in Europe. Doesn't matter. I'm just happy that we had that moment. We had that conversation and we grew from it together.
The fact that we were living with your parents wasn't the issue itself. If we had analyzed it from a very superficial perspective, we would be like, okay, solution, we just go and live alone after the first month or second month living in India. But even then, we would have had the issues we had. Why? Because I couldn't communicate, I couldn't express what I was going through, and you were seeing only the superficial, or I don't know, maybe trying to look away when you were seeing some type of confrontation. In order to make it peaceful all the time, we were putting a lot of things under the rug. And it wasn't hard things, it wasn't big things, it's just small things that were piling up every single day, as you said. But that, for me, was creating a lot of resentment against you. Like, he was saying something and I was already angry. He was like, hi, amor. What? What do you want now?
I was confused. I'm like, what's happening? Did I do something wrong? And I wasn't like being confrontational as well. I'm like, instead of having lunch, do you want to order something? Maybe a comfort food?
Like,
we were just trying to get past the situation, like trying to solve it immediately. But no, it's like, you have to be cutthroat about these things. You have to be like, no, I didn't do anything wrong. And you will be like, no, I also didn't do anything wrong, but there's something wrong.
But there's something wrong.
We have to talk about it. Oops. Yeah. We just have to be direct and don't worry about what your partner is going to think, as long as you don't like offend them in crazy words. Because no matter how angry you are, just try to put that emotion in the right words. And if you cannot do it at that moment, just take a break. Ask them, hey, give me an hour. I will need some time to think about it. And if I talk right away, I'm going to say something that I regret. So give me some time. That's the most healthiest way you can handle that particular situation. And yeah, like you said, we could have gone out, lived alone, moved to a different city, moved to a different country, but then at the end of the day, we'd just be running away from ourselves, because the fact that we weren't able to have or initiate that hard conversation, it can just come with us in our baggage to Europe or to Africa, to Australia.
The rest of our lives.
Yeah, exactly. We had to be there wherever we were, with whomever we were, and just have that conversation and solve it right there, because it's all about communication.
And awareness. Because you have to understand who you are and how you feel to actually share it with your partner, right? Look, I am glad we had a really good relationship with your parents, honestly, because all the things I saw were horrible, and I still see things that are very scary. But everything can be solved with communication. Let's say your parents, this is a hypothetical situation, it didn't happen. If your parents weren't nice and they had made me go through hard times there, I wouldn't be able to tell you at that time, right? And it would have been even worse. Maybe it would have led to divorce because of the communication.
Yes. Or you tell me, or I just get to know about it and I get extremely angry at my parents, and my relationship with my parents can just all of a sudden break, and we're like, okay, we're leaving, bye, goodbye. Yeah.
And that's very important. Look, we come from different parts of the world. However, in that sense, we have the same mindset. Family is the most important thing. I wouldn't like to break my relationship with my parents and with my family because of you. And I cannot even fathom the idea of you breaking your relationship with your family because of me. Therefore, we have to be very respectful, because your mother and your father are the ones who formed you, and you are the person I love. Everything I love of you, it's because your parents gave it to you in one way or another. And your in-laws, let's say they're normal humans, not crazy, not abusive, nothing like that. Let's say they're normal humans with flaws, like we all have, right? That is completely workable. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, because none of us are perfect. We all have our quirks. And especially if it's an intercultural relationship, interreligious one, you're from different parts of the world, East and West, and whatnot. It's just what's normal for me is not normal for you. What's normal for your parents are not normal for my parents, and vice versa, like with so many other things, right? So I think it's just important to sit down, analyze, and learn what's happening, and then talk about it.
And here is the thing. As much as we would love to say, oh, now we are all one big family, when I went to India, that was the first time they were meeting me, and that was the first time I was meeting them.
And we were already married.
We were already married, right? You cannot expect, I cannot expect them to like me just because I'm your wife. They have to get to know me. I have to get to know them and create and form that relationship with them. It is a process, like everything in life, it is a process that is natural, that starts small and grows and blooms. At the same time, as the partner, in this case as your wife, I have to be very careful in the way I talk about your family. Because it's your mother, it's your father, it's your brother. They are the persons, they are the people you love the most before you met me, right? How am I going to threaten that relationship? And now, if your partner, we're out of this relationship now, let's talk unique. If your partner is telling you, hey, this is bothering me, I'm being honest, I have a hard time living with your parents, listen, listen and act. Because you can be like, oh, well, it is what it is. That's really hard for a person to hear, because then sometimes we cannot put limits because we are scared to break the relationship with the family, right? But there are healthy ways to do it without creating chaos.
Absolutely. And also, if you're the one who's going through challenging moments, do not postpone the conversation, because the more you wait, the more the resentment builds, and the more likely that there will be, how do I say it, an explosive conversation. And that's not healthy for anyone, including yourself. So you see something that you don't like, you feel something that's challenging, think about it a couple of days, maybe take even a week, but go and talk to your partner, go have that conversation, because it's just not healthy if you keep it within yourselves, because it's going to affect you, it's going to affect the people around you, the ones that you love. So yeah, just act.
Be wise. No matter the age we have to be wise to manage and to develop our relationships with our families. So finally, I don't know, it's a hard conversation, honestly, and I honestly want to thank your family. I don't know if they watch this, but maybe. But I really want to thank your family because they were so gracious with me too. It was really hard many times for me to understand Indian culture. It is extremely different, right? But they were gracious enough to be patient with me, to try to understand my ways, to respect my spaces, and that's something not many people have the privilege to have. So I'm very thankful for that, and I really hope all the relationships of intercultural couples with Indians that are watching this can have that grace too. Finally, I would say to everyone, Colombian, Indian, European, whatever, leave alone, because that's how I see marriages. But if you can't, because of many reasons, be gracious, be patient, but also be aware of what are your limits and what is okay and what is not okay. That's all for me.
Well, I don't think I need to add anything else to that, because that is the perfect conclusion. I think I was just getting ready to say like goodbye. But no, yeah, that's the last 2 years living with my parents, your in-laws. I think it definitely taught us so many things. And if you are going to have that experience, if you are going to live with your parents-in-law or your parents together with your partner, take this moment to enjoy the time. And because in this modern world, and especially once you get married, you're not going to spend a lot of time with your family. And these last months or these last years that you're actually living with them, make the most of it. Don't get into arguments, or also don't avoid confrontation just for the sake of not getting into arguments. Just find the right balance. I know it's easy to say, very hard to practice, but if you do that, you are going to have the time of your lives.
Exactly. For the first year was hard for me, but the second year was really good because we learned how to manage the relationship with ourselves and with our in-laws in such a nice way. It was just really good. I loved it. I loved my time in India. I was very happy, and I hope that you can be happy too, because it's really cool. It's a really nice place to live if you are surrounded by the right people and if you are with the person you love the most. So take advantage of it.
Yeah, and let us know if you have had any such experiences that you want to share with the community, or if you have any questions that you want to ask us. We'd be very happy to answer them. So, yeah.
Nandri Vanakam.